Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome to Sew with Mediva. And if you're a returning subscriber or a returning viewer, thank you for sticking to my channel. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys how to cut and sew this simple bustier dress with a basque waistline. And this dress also has pockets on the side. So I achieved the style using 3 yards of African print fabric and about 1 yard of crepe fabric. You can decide to replace your crepe fabric with a lace fabric. It just depends on what you want. So if this is something you are interested in, make sure to keep watching and make sure you watch till the end. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and also share to your loved ones. So like I said earlier, I made use of 3 yards of this beautiful African print fabric, and you can also make use of this type of lace fabric for the sleeve, but since I don't have enough fabric, I replaced mine with a crepe fabric. So I made use of 1 yard of crepe fabric. So we're going to draft some parts of this dress on the pattern paper for clarity and accuracy of measurement. So you're going to need your marker, your pattern paper, your tape rule, your scissors, and your chalk. So let's go ahead to start working on the dress. So we're going to start with the upper part of the front panel, which is like the major part of this dress. So I have my pattern paper here and it's not in a fold, as you can see. So the first thing you want to do is to draw out a starting line at the upper part of your paper. So this is going to serve as a shoulder line where we'll take all the vertical measurements from. So place your tape rule on that line and then come down from your shoulder to your bust point, the nipple point. Mine is 11 inches. Go ahead to mark it out. And then the next measurement is from the shoulder to the under bust and then the shoulder to the half length. So after marking out those points, go ahead to use your ruler to extend the lines this way. This is the half length, and then label the lines accordingly so that you don't get confused. So from the half length line, I'm going to come down again by 2.5 inches. So this is where I want my gathers to start from, on the sides and at the back. I hope you guys understand. So I'll come down by 2.5 inches from the waistline, and then I'll extend the line this way. So I don't want the gathers to start directly on the half length line. That's why I came down by another 2.5 inches. This is where my gathers is going to start, on the sides and at the back. So the next thing to do is to come over to the shoulder line and place your shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. So my shoulder measurement is 16 inches, divided by 2 is 8 inches. So from that 8 inches, I'll come down by 1 inch for the shoulder slope, and then I will come down by my round armhole measurements divided by 2, which is 8 inches. So I'll go ahead to connect the points together, and then I'll further extend the line this way. So go ahead and place your own appropriate measurements. So the next thing we want to do is to place the dart line. So to get your dart line, divide your nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So mine is 4 inches, and I'm going to mark that 4 inches on all the lines I have marked initially, and then connect the points together. So notice that this dress is in the form of a bustier and a yoke. So what you want to do now is to determine where you want the bustier to start from. So depending on how open you want the chest area to be, you can work with any measurement. So for mine, I made use of 6 inches. So if you want the bustier to come lower, you can make use of 7 inches or 8 inches. But for mine, I made use of 6 inches, and then I'll just extend the line this way. So I'm going to extend the dart line all the way up to meet the new line we just marked. So go ahead to extend the dart line all the way up this way. So we're going to be marking the over bust tightening on this line. So the next thing we want to do is to place the dart. So we're going to start with the under bust tightening. I'll come over to the under bust line, and on both sides of the line, I'm going to take 1 inch. So if you are working with a bigger bust, you can do 1.5 inches on both sides of the line. So after marking, I'll take my ruler and just blend it into the waistline this way, forming a slant. So after that, come over to the bust point, the bust line, and come down by 1 inch. And then take the curved ruler, use your curved ruler now to connect the points together, just as you can see me doing in the video. And you also do the same thing for the other side. So after that, the next thing is to mark the over bust tightening. I'll come over to this line now and take 0.5 inches on both sides of the line. A bigger bust can do 0.75 inches on both sides, or even 1 inch. And then I'll just use my curved roller to blend these points now into the dart line this way. I'll repeat the same thing for the other side. So after placing the dart, the next thing is to mark the neckline. So for the wideness of the neckline, I made use of 5 inches for mine, but if you want yours wider, you can do 6 inches. So I'm going to take 5 inches on the shoulder line this way, and then I'll take the shoulder slope first. Remember the 1 inch we took out for shoulder slope here? I'll connect it this way, and then I'll further extend this line all the way down. So right now this upper part is going to be the yoke. We are going to use the plain fabric, while this lower part is going to be for the Ankara fabric. So the next thing we want to do is to insert the body measurements. So on this chest line, the armhole line, I'm going to mark my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches. I'll add this over bust tightening dart of 1 inch, making 12 inches and 1 inch for seam allowance. I'll mark it there. So we're going to place that same measurement on the bust line, and then I'll come over to the waistline, the half length line, and place my round waist measurements divided by 4, which is 9 inches. I'll add the 2 inches for that, making 11 inches, and I'll add 1 inch for seam allowance. So I'm going to place that same measurement on the under bust line. The same measurement on the waistline will go for the under bust measurement, and then I will connect all the points together this way. So after connecting those 3 points together, this is what we have. So on this line, on the last line, I'm going to place my round hip measurements divided by 4, and then I would add the seam allowance of 1 inch, and then go ahead to just extend the line this way. So after that, the next thing is to place the armhole curve. So I'll come over to this armhole line and get the midpoint, which is 4 inches for me, and then I'll come in by 0.5 inches, half of an inch from that 4 inches line, and then use my curved roller to just connect the points together all the way to the chest line this way. So after that, you should have something that looks like this. So this upper part is the yoke, where I'll be using the plain fabric, while the lower part will be for the Ankara. And the next thing to do is to create the basque effect in front. So the last and final thing we want to do is to create the basque effect. So I'm going to come down by 6 inches from this line. So if you want your basque deeper, you can do 7-8 inches depending on what you want. And then I'll take my ruler and just connect it all the way to meet the line this way. So this is what we have, and I'll also extend the dart leg all the way down, because we'll be cutting it open. So this is basically all for the front part. Let's go ahead to cut it out. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So watch closely how I'm going to open up this pattern. So I'll take the armhole curve and then I'll just separate it from the lower bodice. We're going to be cutting out 2 pieces of that on the fabric. So let's go ahead to open up the dart points. So after cutting out, this is what it looks like. So I'm going to add half an inch on all these dart areas when cutting on my fabric. I'm going to cut the center front in a fold, and the other one is going to have 2 pieces. So let's go ahead to work on the back. So moving to the back panel, I've gone ahead to mark the basic vertical measurement we're going to need, and the first line is the shoulder line. So the back is going to have a zipper allowance of 1.5 inches towards the center back. Let me show you guys how I came about this line. So from the shoulder line, I came down by 11 inches to the bust point, and then the shoulder to the half length is 16 inches, and then the extra 2.5 inches that I came down for the gather, where the gathers is going to start, which makes a total of 18.5 inches. So after that, I'm going to come over to the shoulder line and just place the shoulder to shoulder measurements divided by 2 like I did with the front. I'll take the 1 inch for the shoulder slope and also mark the 8 inches for the round armhole measurements divided by 2. I'll go ahead to connect the points together and further extend the line this way. So after that, the next thing now is to come down to where you want the back panel to start. So I'm going to take the same 6 inches I used in front. If you want yours deeper, you can come down to about 8 or 9 inches. Just depends on what you want. And then for the neckline, I'll be doing the same 5 inches width and then just connect it all the way down. So I would take the shoulder slope of 1 inch. So after that, this is what we have. Next thing now is to place the dart. So before placing the dart, I'm going to take the armhole curve first. So I'll come over to this chest line and mark my round bust measurements divided by 4, which is 11 inches, and then I'll get the midpoint of this armhole line, which is 4 inches, and then just use my curved ruler to connect it together. So after that, the next thing is to mark the dart line. So I'm going to use that same 4 inches on all the lines. So I got the 4 inches by dividing my nipple to nipple measurement by 2. So mark it on all the lines and then use your ruler to connect all the points together this way. So I'll come over to this lower line and take 0.5 inches on both sides of the line, and then I'll just extend it all the way up to meet the chest line, above the chest line. So we're going to be using this simple dart for the back panel. After connecting, you should have something that looks like this. The next thing to do is to place the round body measurements, and I'll come over to the bust line and mark my round bust measurements divided by 4. I'll add this half inch dart and I'll add 1 inch for my seam allowance. So I'll connect it all the way to the chest line. So I'll come over to the half length line. I'll mark my round waist measurements divided by 4. I'll add the dart of 1 inch and my seam allowance. And on this line, I'll mark my round hip measurements divided by 4, and then I'll add the dart and my seam allowance. So let's go ahead to connect all the points together. So fill in your own appropriate measurements and connect the points together this way. So after that, this is what we have. So let's go ahead to cut out the pattern. So I'll go ahead to separate the yoke from the lower bodice. So after cutting out, this is what we have. Before I open up the dart for the lower bodies, I'm going to eliminate 0.5 inches from the zipper allowance. So this is going to prevent any kind of bulging at the back. So from this center back, I'll come in by 0.5 inches, and then I'll just take my ruler and slant it all the way up this way. So we're going to be cutting out this part. So just go ahead now to cut it out, and then I'll open up the dart point. So I'll just cut the dart point open this way. So after cutting, you can use your paper tape to just hold the two patterns together, so that you can just cut it out this way on your fabric. I hope you guys understand, so there won't be any joining at the back. So let me go ahead to use these patterns to cut out my fabric, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like. So I have used the patterns to cut out the fabric, and this is what we have. These are the front panels. So on the dart area, I added half an inch all the way around it for joining. I added to the lower part, and I also added to the armhole point. I added to the upper part as well for turning over with the lining. So I have this one in a fold, and I have 2 pieces of this. I also cut out lining pieces for each pattern, and this is the upper part. I have 2 pieces and then 2 pieces of the lining. For the back, just like I explained earlier, I just joined the 2 patterns together, and I cut the fabric as a whole fabric so that we don't have to take in any darts at the back. I have 2 pieces there. I added half an inch all around it, and I also have the lining pieces. So this is the back yoke. So right now I'm going to take out the patterns from the fabric and I'll show you guys how to start joining them together. So we're going to start with the front panel and I'm going to just set the lining pieces aside. So you can go ahead to iron your cloth stay, your ear stay to the fabric to give it more stability. So the first thing I want to do is to join the three pieces together and I'm going to place them on each other, right sides facing each other this way, and take that half an inch to join them together. So if you want to pad yours, you can go ahead to iron your breast pad on the chest area, but for mine I'll be leaving it this way. So when I'm done, I will repeat it on the other side. I'll place it this way. You can use your pins to hold it down before you stitch it and just stitch it all the way down. So I'm going to repeat the same process for the lining pieces and show you guys what it looks like. So after joining the three pieces of fabric together, this is what we have. I have also joined the lining pieces together. So we're going to notch this seam area opened. So this is going to help the right side look neat. So just make small cuts on the seam area, making sure it doesn't get to the thread. So after making the cut, you're going to open up the seam and just iron it out so that the right side appears very neat. Put it on your tailor's arm and iron it open. So I'm going to cut out this little excess that I have at this lower part. Just shape it out this way. So I'll also notch the seam of the lining before we use it to turn it over. So before we turn over with the lining, we're going to insert the yoke. So I'm just separating it from the pattern. So I have cut out lining pieces for the yoke as well, so I'm going to use it to turn it over towards the neckline area. So I'm going to place the lining for the yoke on it this way. So we're only going to be stitching down the part towards the neckline. I'll leave all the other parts open and just close up this neckline area using half of an inch. That's the part we're going to be turning over. I'll stitch it down. So when I'm done, I'll repeat the same thing for the other one. I'll leave all the edges open and just stitch down the part towards the neckline and turn it over. When I'm done with all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after turning the yoke over with the lining, this is what it looks like. Like I said, the remaining parts are opened. I only turned over the neckline area. So I have ironed this part out. So the next thing is to attach the yoke to it. So I'm going to open it up this way. Then I'll take this part of the yoke and just place it on my bodice this way, making sure the right sides are facing each other. So I'll merge it to the armhole point and just place them right sides facing each other this way, and then I'll use my pin to secure it. I'll do the same thing on the other side, making sure the armhole areas are aligned, and then I'll use my pins to hold it down. So I'll take it to my machine and stitch it using half of an inch. Now when I'm done stitching, I'm going to place my lining on it, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and I'll go ahead to close it up here. I'll close up the sides as well and leave the remaining parts opened. I'll leave the remaining parts open. So when I'm done with this, I'll work on the back panels. So these are the back panels. I'll open them up this way. So I have already turned over the yoke of the back panel just like I did with the front. I turned over the neckline area with lining. So I'm going to place it right sides facing each other also, making sure the armhole areas are aligned. Then I'll go ahead to stitch it down. When I'm done stitching, I'm going to use the lining to turn it over. So I'll place the lining on it, right sides facing each other. I'll close up the upper part, close up the zipper allowance area and the sides. So I'll repeat the same thing for the other one. I'll place the lining on it this way and go ahead to close it up. So when I'm done doing all of that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I turned over with the lining, this is what it looks like. These are the back panels and I've also ironed it out. This is what the wrong side looks like. You can see how neat it looks, and this is what the front panel looks like. The next thing now is to cut out the fabric for the gathers. And to get the wideness of fabric to cut out, I'm going to measure what I have around the waistline of the front. So after measuring, I have about 29.5 inches there. So I'll just approximate it to 30 inches. I'm going to cut out times 2 of that 30 inches, which is going to be 60 inches wide. So if you want your gathers fuller, you can do times 2.5. And for the back, I'm going to cut out the fabric for the gathers individually. I'll just measure what I have on the waistline. I have 11 inches there, and I'm going to multiply by 2, which is 22 inches. Same thing for the other side. So the wideness of the fabric for the back are going to be 22 inches. So remember, the length of this dress is 40 inches, and we've already worked with 18.5 inches for the side. So I'm going to subtract that 18.5 inches from the full length, so I'll be left with 21.5. I'll add 1 inch to it for the folding allowance, so my fabric is going to be 22.5 inches long, and then I'll cut out the wideness like I explained. Let me go ahead to do that and show you guys. So I've cut out the fabric that we'll use to create the gathers, and this is what we have. So like I said earlier, the wideness for the front is 60 inches while the length is 22.5 inches. So the first thing to do is to fold the fabric into 2 equal parts this way. So we want to get the midpoint. So I'm going to notch that midpoint, just cut out a small part this way. So we'll start with the front part. I'm going to set the back panels aside. So then I'll take that notched point and place it on this center front. I'll place it on the center front this way, making sure the right sides are facing each other. And then I'll use my pin to just hold it down. So I'll take one side of the edge and then merge it to the side of the bodice this way. So I'll do the same thing for this other side. I'll just use my pin to hold it down. So after that, I'll take it to my sewing machine. Starting from this midpoint, I'll start to join the two fabrics together, and I'll gather this one into it. So by doing this, you're going to make sure the gathers are evenly spread. So stitch it together while creating the gathers. When I'm done, I'll repeat the same thing for the back. I'll take the fabric and just place it on it, right sides facing each other, and go ahead to gather it and stitch it all the way down. I'll do the same thing for this other side. I'll gather it there while joining together, and when I'm done, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So guys, after creating the gathers, this is what it looks like in front. So if you want yours fuller, you can just make your fabric wider. And for the back, I have also created the gathers to it, and I joined the two pieces together. So I left the zipper allowance opened. So this is what it looks like on the wrong side. I went ahead to join the two pieces together. So this part that is open is where I'm going to insert my zipper, which I'm going to show you guys how to do that now. So to insert the zipper, I'm going to open up the back panel this way. So this is the zipper I'll be working with. So I'll go ahead to open it up this way. After that, I'll get my tape rule and just take the 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. Just mark it out as a guideline. So after marking, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Mark it and then connect the lines this way. So right now I'm going to get my zipper. I'll place it like this, and then I would pick the one for this side and just turn it over this way. I'll fold in the upper part in this way, and then I'll stitch it down on the line I marked. You can use your pins to hold it down before you stitch. You're going to stitch it into the zipper allowance. So when you're done, it is going to appear this way. When I'm done, I'll pick the other side of the zipper, turn it over, fold in the edge, and just stitch down on that line. Use your pins to hold it down so that it's easy for you. Stitch it all the way down. So when I am done inserting the zipper, I'll show you guys the next thing to do. So after inserting the zipper, this is what it looks like at the back. You can see how neat it looks. So I also went ahead to stitch down the fabric for the pocket. So I cut out 4 pieces of fabric and they are 7 inches wide and 10 inches long. So I placed the fabric on my dress this way, right sides facing each other, and went ahead to stitch it down. I did the same thing on the other side, starting directly from the waistline. I stitched it down. I repeated the same process for the front panels. So these fabrics are going to serve as the pocket for the dress. So the next thing we want to do is to close up the sides of this dress. I'm going to place them on each other, making sure the right sides are facing each other this way, and then I'll merge it together. I'll merge the fabrics for the pocket together this way, and then I'll use the seam allowance to just stitch it closed. When I get to this pocket point, I'll lift the footer up, close up the fabric for the pocket. When I get to this side, I'll also lift it up and then stitch it all the way down. I'll repeat the same process for the other side and show you guys. So after closing up the sides, this is what we have. This is what it looks like, and this is the pocket on the side. We have it on both sides. So I forgot to show you guys how to join the shoulders together. So I only joined one side, so I'm going to show you guys how to join the other one. So you're going to place the lining facing lining and the fabric facing fabric. Open it up this way. So open it up this way and go ahead to stitch it following the shape that you have. Stitch it using the 1/2 inch. So after doing that, your inner seam is going to look very neat. So when I'm done, I'll show you guys. So guys, we're moving to the sleeve now, and it's a simple basic long sleeve. I have the fabric in a fold of 2. As you can see, both fabrics in a fold of 2. So I'm going to start by drawing a line at the upper part, which is going to be the starting line for all the vertical measurements. And the length of this sleeve is about 23 inches because I'm still going to have flare at the lower part. So the first measurement you're going to need is from your shoulder to your calf's height. Mine is 4 inches, so divide your round bust measurement by 12 and add 1/2 inch to it. And the width of the fabric I folded is the round armhole of the dress divided by 2. So from my shoulder to my elbow is 14.5 inches. Go ahead to measure yours and just mark it. And from my shoulder to my wrist, where I want the flare to start from, is 24 inches. So I already added 1/2 inch for the joining allowance. So on this calf's height line, so I'm going to place the round armhole measurement on the dress divided by 2, which is 9.5 inches, and I added 1/2 inch for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to just connect the line to the closed angle of the fabric this way. So get the midpoint of the line. So I got about 5.5 inches. So from the edge of this fabric, I'm going to come up by 0.5 inches, and then I'll also come down by 0.5 inches. So I'll come over to this elbow line. I'll mark my round arm measurements there divided by 2 and add 1/2 inch for seam allowance. So I'll go ahead to connect it up, and then on this line I'll mark the round wrist measurements divided by 2 and add the seam allowance, and then I'll connect the points together this way. So let's go ahead now to cut it out. So we're cutting out both sleeves together. I'm going to take the lower curve and then the upper curve. After cutting out, go ahead to notch the crown of both sleeves. Notch it. And after notching, I'm going to then fold the sleeves this way and then use the 1/2 inch allowance to close it up. I'll do the same thing for the other one and show you guys. So after I turned over to the right side, this is what it looks like. I have also ironed it out. So I'm going to use my Ankara fabric to create the flare at the base of the sleeve. You can decide to use the same fabric. Anything you want is fine. So these are the fabrics, and I'm gonna head to fold it up. I folded it into 2 and then into 4 because it's a full circle. This is what we have. So make sure what you have is going to take the length of your flare. So to get the flare, you're going to measure what you have on this wrist area. Go ahead to measure around the wrist this way. So I have about 10.5 inches there about. So I'm going to place the two fabrics together. This is for the first one. So I'll fold the other one and then place it on each other. So that 10.5 inches I got, I'm going to divide it by 4. So divide whatever you got after measuring your wrist by 4. So after dividing the 10.5 inches by 4, I got 2.6 inches. So I'm going to come over to the apex of the fabric, and then I'll curve my tape rule this way to mark that 2.6. So curve it out so that you can have a slight curve this way. So after marking, I'll just confirm what I have there, measure it in the form of a curve this way. So I have that 2.6 that I want. So after that, the next thing is to mark the full length of the flare. So I'm going to be making use of 6 inches for the length of my flare, and I'm going to add what I have up there. I'm going to add what I have up there, which is about 1.7 inches to it. So I'm going to be marking about 8 inches altogether. I'm going to be marking about 8 inches altogether from the apex of the fabric. Go ahead to place your measurements all the way around this way, and then connect the points together. So after connecting, let's go ahead to cut it out. So after cutting out, I'll also cut the upper part, but I came up by 0.5 inches. So when you open up, you're going to have a full circle this way. So let me show you guys how to attach this to the sleeve. So to insert the flare to the sleeve, I'm going to place the flare through it this way, making sure the right sides are facing each other, and then I'll take it to my sewing machine and go ahead to stitch it together all the way around it. So you can use your pins to hold it down before stitching. So after joining together, I'm also going to finish up the base of the flare. I'll fold it in and stitch it all around. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys. So guys, after inserting the flare, I went ahead to just insert one of the sleeves. So this is what the outcome looks like. You can see how beautiful it looks. So I'm going to show you guys how to insert the other sleeve. We're going to do that together. So this is the other sleeve. I'm going to first of all flip my dress to the wrong side. So go ahead to flip your dress over to the wrong side this way, and then I'll take my sleeve and just pass it in through the armhole point. So that point of the sleeve where we notched, I'm going to merge it to the shoulder joining this way, and then use my pin to hold it down. And then I'll take the other joining, the side of the sleeve, and just merge it to the side joining of my dress. Open up the seam and use your pin to hold it down. So you can use your pins to hold up the remaining sides, but for mine, I'll just take it to my machine this way, and then I will stitch all around. So you can see that the sleeve opening fits perfectly into the armhole because we use the same measurements. So I'll finish up the base, and then I'll show you guys the finished product of the dress. So after inserting the sleeve, this is what the finished product of the dress looks like, and I've also finished up the base of the sleeve. So for the base of my dress, I trimmed the front part so that it becomes equal with the back. I hope you guys understand what I'm saying. Because of that basque waistline, the front was longer than the back, so I trimmed it off and then folded it all the way around it. But you can decide to leave yours that way, it is optional. So this is where we end this video for today, guys. I hope you found it useful, and I hope you learned something new. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share to your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.